After my wife died, my own son looked me in the eye and called me a worthless old man. He gave me 22 days to get out of the only home I'd known for 40 years. He kept the $3.8 million mansion. I got an 800-acre rundown farm in the middle of nowhere. What I found inside that old barn changed my life forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're here for the first time, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. These stories have a way of staying with you. Drop where you're watching from in the comments. I love seeing that. Today's story includes some dramatized details for impact, but the heart of it, the pain, the betrayal, and the quiet strength, that part is very real. The lawyer's office felt heavy with silence. Eleanor had been gone exactly 8 days. Our son Marcus sat across from me in a sharp navy suit, his wife gripping his hand like they'd already won. The attorney cleared her throat and began reading. To my beloved son Marcus, I leave the family home in Willow Creek, along with the investment accounts and retirement funds. Approximate total value, $12 million. Marcus didn't even try to hide his smile. Then the attorney turned to me. To my husband Thomas, I leave the Caldwell family farm in Kiowa County, 800 acres, including the farmhouse and all outbuildings. The room went completely quiet. Marcus let out a sharp laugh. A farm? Mom left you a collapsing shack and some worthless date. Dad, you're a retired math teacher. What are you going to do out there? Plant vegetables and hope for the best. I didn't answer. I just stared at the old brass key the lawyer slid across the table, along with a thick cream envelope in Eleanor's familiar handwriting, open at the farm. Trust me, that same night, Marcus handed me official eviction papers. We're starting a family. We need the space. You've got the farm now. Go live there. 2 days later, I watched contractors tear through Eleanor's home office. They threw her framed photos into a dumpster like trash. When I begged to keep just one picture of us from our first big oil lease celebration, Marcus smiled and said, "The frame is sterling silver. It stays." I spent the next 3 weeks sleeping in the guest room with one suitcase and her old cardigan that still carried the faint scent of her lavender soap. Every single night, those words echoed in my head. Trust me. The drive out to the farm took 2.5 hours. When I finally pulled up, the place looked even worse than I remembered. Peeling white paint, a sagging porch, and a big red barn leaning like it was exhausted from standing for decades. I unlocked the front door. Inside, on a dusty old table, sat the second envelope the lawyer had given me right before I left the city. I opened it with shaking hands. Thomas, go straight to the barn. Northwest corner, behind the old feed bins. The key opens the green metal trunk. Everything I couldn't say out loud is waiting there. I love you. Always have. Eleanor. My heart pounded as I climbed the creaky ladder into the dusty attic. The trunk opened with a heavy metallic click. Inside were 3 thick folders and another letter from her. I sat on the attic floor under the beam of my flashlight and read her final words. Asterisk, by now you've probably learned that Marcus tried to take everything. While I was fighting cancer, he stole $425,000 from us, forged my signatures, worked secretly with my biggest rival, Victor Lang, to force you into a cheap care facility and sell this land for pennies. But this farm sits directly over one of the richest untapped shale formations in the state. I quietly secured a drilling partnership with my old company. You will keep 78% of the net royalties. The trust one created is ironclad. He cannot touch it. Asterisk. The red folder held bank statements, security photos of Marcus at the bank, and proof of every forgery. The blue folder contained their emails and messages planning the guardianship, the low offers, and even the nursing home contract they signed while I was still sitting beside Eleanor's bed. I sat there in the dust and cried like a broken man for the first time since her funeral. That night around 11, my phone rang. It was Marcus. I answered but stayed completely silent. His voice came through clearly. Yeah, he's out at that dump now. If he figures out the oil potential before we get him to sign, the guardianship papers are ready. Once it's locked away in Sunset Ridge, I take control as conservator. Victor's offering me $7 million plus a VP position. I recorded every single word. The next morning, an older man named Harlan arrived in an old pickup truck. Your wife paid me for years to keep an eye on this place, he said. Told me you'd need a real friend when you finally got here. He handed me $22,000 in cash and a small USB drive. There's an insurance box in the barn. FBI agent's card is inside it too. 3 days later, Marcus and Victor pulled up in matching luxury SUVs. Marcus tried the Concerned Son Act. Victor got straight to business. $12 million cash. Today, you sign over the farm and walk away free. I looked them both in the eyes and pressed play on my phone. Their own words filled the quiet farm air. Their faces went pale. Before they could recover, my lawyer Helen arrived with the new drilling company CEO. She handed them cease and desist orders and trust violation notices. The ethics clause was crystal clear. If Marcus fought the will or worked with Victor, he would lose every single penny of his $12 million inheritance and face federal charges. Victor stormed off without another word. Marcus stood there shaking, the papers trembling in his hands. That was the last time I ever saw my son. 2 years later, the first royalty check arrived. $2.9 million for just 1 quarter. I kept $65,000 for living expenses that year. Every dollar beyond that went into the Eleanor Caldwell Foundation. Since then, we've funded 187 college scholarships for rural kids who never thought they could afford school, 74 small business grants for single parents and veterans, and medical help for 312 families fighting cancer who were drowning in bills. Last spring, we dedicated the Eleanor Memorial Rose Garden right here on the farm. 60 yellow rose bushes, one for every year we were married. I'm 71 years old now. Every morning I still drink my coffee on the porch, talking quietly to Eleanor while the yellow roses bloom and the oil pumps work steadily in the distance. Some people hear this story and call it revenge. It was never revenge. It was love. It was a woman who spent her final painful months building an unbreakable shield around her husband, even while her own son tried to bury him. It was choosing purpose over bitterness. And it was proof that sometimes the thing everyone else calls worthless, an old farm, a quiet marriage, a life that looks small from the outside, holds more treasure than you could ever imagine. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, especially family, drop the word trust in the comments. I read every single one. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it right now. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Eleanor didn't just leave me a farm. She left me proof that real love doesn't end when someone's gone. It just changes form and keeps working in the dark until you're finally ready to step into the light. Thank you for watching. Go out there and build something that truly outlives you.